Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to be giving our thoughts on Cody Rhodes' title reign thus far. We're going to be talking a little bit about NXT, as well as a follower-submitted opinion about Randy Orton and John Cena, as well as previewing tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. But today's show, well, it's a one of its kind. It's the first time we've done one of these since, I believe, June last year. It's a two-man show with me and Clark. Clark, we brought back the old Raw review team. How are you?
We're back. This is like the early days of the daily when it was just gritty and it was legit. We do now have the scroll on the side, unlike before. Monster shout out to you, my friend. But I'm fired up to be here. I mean, I guess. What do you want to talk about, Ben? No, I'm totally kidding. You've got more than enough to talk about. I'm excited to get into it, and I'm stoked to be here as usual. On a Wednesday, we got Dynamite tonight. We got all kinds of good stuff going on.
Oh, it's a stacked Dynamite. We'll be getting into that for sure. But firstly, let's talk about the guy who likes to ask us what we want to talk about, but in reality, he doesn't really care, Mr. Cody Rhodes, because Clark, both me and you were Team Roman Reigns heading into WrestleMania. Of course, Cody Rhodes ended up winning, and I said, Cody, he deserves it. He's going to be a great champion, but you still weren't sold on the guy. You didn't like his tie clips. You didn't like his promos. You didn't like a lot about him. But what I want to ask you now is, since he's been champion, has he changed your opinion on him?
No, actually, I feel like this is the time where I deserve my flowers. I'm going to toot my own horn here. Like, wow. I called it. This is stale as the crackers he accidentally left on the top shelf from last Christmas. It's exactly what I said it would be. You know, he's an awesome babyface, but he's not really a babyface. And we've always known that about Cody Rhodes. As far as when I say we, I mostly mean me. Cody isn't a true babyface because the story is what made him one. And the story's over. The story is over. These title defenses have been fun, but it's taken a lot of juice from elsewhere to make them main event matches. Because all I wanted to talk about after SummerSlam was Roman Reigns. Not Cody. Not the guy holding the belt. Absolutely not. If you're asking me what I want to talk about, it was the return of the OTC. Just saying. It's one of those deals where it's tough. It's a tough look for Cody. I think it's fine. I think he's fine. He's still popular enough, but it's been stale to me since the beginning. The AJ Styles match, I already forgot about. I had to try to remember it. And I guess there was a couple of them, right? And so what? Let's get to Orton. Let's get to some real blood feuds. Let's get to some real rivalries that make a bunch of sense. Everyone and their mother knew that Solo Sikoa was not beating Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. That was never going to happen. It was never going to happen. And I didn't believe it for a second. So let's get in a spot where it feels like there's actually a threat to him on the heel side, a legitimate threat to him. And it's not just a vehicle for another storyline.
I will say, in defense of that, isn't that the case for most world champions in wrestling, especially in this day and age? I mean, it was the same for, let's be realistic here, 95% of Roman Reigns' defenses.
In which way?
That predictable.
But he's a heel.
Well, yeah.
He's a heel, so you're assuming that he's going to, at least when it's a heel, you have the avenue where you're rooting for the ultimate underdog to pull the upset off. When it's a babyface,
that's true.
When it's a babyface, it's not the same. And that's That's my big issue. I agree he's over. That's what's so fascinating about it to me. But I don't know how long it lasts. I don't know that the audience turns on him because I think they loved so much the idea that he was driven to that spot at WrestleMania. I think that's his biggest advantage going for him as a babyface over anything else. Is everyone can do the like, well, I played a role in that because I was upset, right? So now you're picking teams, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. But to me, it's exactly what I expected. It was all about the finish line. Once the finish line happened, there just wasn't that much after it for me. Even this Rock Cody thing doesn't do a whole lot for me. It's not.
What? No, that's where I disagree with you.
I think it's Rock Roman. Rock Roman is the match.
Both
Rock
of them.
Roman is the match
Do
over
one
Rock
and then
Cody.
the other.
Rock Roman is the match over Rock Cody by miles.
What? I mean, I want to see Rock Roman. That's undoubtedly. I will say this: it is the bigger story. But the fact that they started the build for Rock versus Cody, it's got me so excited for that. Do that first, then
they
do
started
Rock
and
Roman.
stopped it.
But
Rock Roman one, you didn't even have to start. It's already there. It's already intrinsic.
But
it's already
they
inherent.
start and stop that too. To be fair, they were
exactly.
going to do it at Mania,
but it doesn't necessarily feel like it has because they're family. It's different. It's different.
It doesn't with Cody and Rock either, because Rock said, "Hey, Cody, I'm coming back for you, whether you have that belt or you don't." If they're smart about this, they could do both matches, and they could do one match leading into the other. Now,
I agree that they need to do both matches, but one of the two that I'm looking forward to by quite a bit is Roman versus Rock over Cody versus Rock. That's my personal opinion on that.
Fair enough.
Roman Rock is the money match.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I do agree it's a bigger money match. I don't think that point is arguable. I'm excited for both, and I feel like purely because of Cody's promos, when he's in these intense feuds, his promo work is unbelievable, and I think that's where he has the clear advantage over Roman Reigns. So I think the build to Rock versus Cody actually.
Wait, did you just say Cody's a better promo than Roman?
Yes.
Oh, no. We might have to like cut a segment. That's ridiculous. No, stop that. No, absolutely not.
No,
this new version of
Cody
Roman Reigns.
No,
that's not true. Roman Reigns, by the word, is more impactful than Cody Rhodes over these last years since the Wreck Everyone and Leave segment. Since he's been the tribal chief, he is the better promo than Cody Rhodes. If we go over the course of their career, sure, we can make comparisons, but we got to start talking about Stardust stuff and mustache Cody, and we're going to put a mask on him and do things like that, which is unfair to Cody. But in the interest of fairness, if you're talking big dog Roman Reigns, sure, I agree with you. Cody Rhodes is the better promo than big dog Roman Reigns. But since he's been the tribal chief, if he takes the microphone, we listen no matter what. And yes, the pacing is slower than Cody. I don't know. It's a lot of asking us what we want to talk about, spending a lot of time out there. It's a lot of like, wheeling and dealing. I don't know.
What I will say is this, right? I do agree with you on the fact that Roman Reigns can do a lot more with a lot less in terms of you give him a mic, he says 3 words. Those 3 words are more impactful than if Cody Rhodes had 3 words. But I don't think that necessarily makes him a better promo. It means he's probably slightly more over than Cody is. It does not mean he's a better promo. If you give them both the same promo and ask them both to deliver it, I think Cody's delivering it better.
Yeah. I disagree because I think that Roman Reigns, the aura, as the kids would say, like it's just different. Roman Reigns, if you hand him a mic at this point, he's one of the few people we've ever seen that can shut up Paul Heyman and then talk. Whereas Brock would shut up Paul Heyman but not speak. Beyond that, Roman Reigns will shut up Paul Heyman and then speak. And that to me gives him the edge over Cody for sure. He just commands attention in a way that Cody Rhodes does very well for a babyface, but it's different. It's different.
The
promos are different.
Both feuds on the mic. Cody destroyed Reigns on the mic both times.
I don't think so.
Mania 39 and Mania 40.
I don't think he did. I think
we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one.
Because
maybe go to the
I would also go back to the press conference. I thought Reigns, even though Cody shocked him, surprised everybody, Rock looked weaker than Reigns. Reigns didn't look panicked.
What?
He just looked upset. Reigns didn't look panicked. He just looked like this is BS. This is BS. I didn't.
I don't agree with that. Rock's a better promo than both of them. Potentially
Well,
both of
yeah,
them combined.
Rock's probably the best promo of all time.
That's an
What are we talking
argument
about
that can
there?
be
Yeah,
made.
come on.
But I'm sorry, I do not think Roman Reigns is on the same level as Cody Rhodes when it comes to promo ability, right? But I will agree that his character's more over and he's the bigger star. In fact, I think that's hard to debate realistically. But yeah, I mean, Soul does agree with you, to be fair. So hey, maybe that'll chuck other comments as well, guys. Let us know what you think. Hopefully, I'm not the only one who thinks that Roman Reigns
I was
is
to say, by
is
the
a
way,
worse
too,
promo.
Calf Cascade, he let us in last night. He said, "Love you a lot." Clark,
Oh
Ben,
wow.
Shaw, Jordy, Chaos, to name some, been going through a very tough time. Thanks, y'all. And then he added Soul as well. And yes, we love you as well. Thank you for tuning in
Absolutely.
always, and glad we can be there to provide a little distraction and talk some wrestling for you,
Yeah.
man. Absolutely, 100%.
No doubt about it. I hope everything is okay with you. We've got a comment from Numero One Superfly as well. Hello, Numero One. I hope you're having a great day as well. But some people who are having a great day is the NXT roster because Paul Heyman, well, he's gone and praised them all, and he said that 1/3 of them, oh, 1/3 of the NXT roster, right? Which, I mean, the NXT roster nowadays is absolutely massive, so this is a lot of guys, are ready to be called up to the main roster. And I'm going to be honest, I was slightly surprised when I heard this, but I don't entirely disagree because there is so much talent on that NXT roster. Now, I will say a lot of them are green in a lot of different areas. I think that's hard to deny. But they've called up so many green people in the past. But here's the thing, and also, I say here's the thing, Heyman said it as well, it's about timing. You can't just all call all 1/3 up at once. You got to make the timing right. You got to have the marketing good for them. You need to have all their production sorted. You need to make sure that timing is perfect. Because there are call-ups which we have seen. Odyssey Jones being one of them for the longest time. Kiana James most recently, who just aren't on TV. They get called up. They're doing fantastic things in NXT. Get called up and do nothing on the main roster. What is the point? Why are they calling up people for the sake of calling them up? Is that a sign that perhaps they're not ready for the main roster? That's also an interesting conversation. Of course, Clark, you cover NXT every Tuesday night, and you guys, you, Drizzy, and Shah just celebrated the 1 year anniversary of your NXT post show, NXT Off the Air Mix. You guys check that out every week following NXT. But do you agree with Heyman? Do you think 1/3 of the NXT roster is ready for Raw and SmackDown?
I sincerely do. Actually, this is one of the craziest NXT classes I've ever seen in my life. And if we're talking about the women's division specifically, I mean, arguably half the roster, arguably half of the women's roster. And then on the men's side, I would say a third is 100% ready. All at once, like you mentioned, no way. No way. All at once would be like too much and it wouldn't work. But individually introduced, I mean, talk about bolstering the women's division with names like Sol Ruka, Kalani Jordan, like the both who are unbelievable athletes and can work bell to bell in a way that we have a lot of stars on the main roster. We don't have a lot of workers when it comes to the women's division specifically. Can bolster the mid card in the women's division, maybe provide more time on both Raw and SmackDown for longer matches because they've proven they can do so over on NXT, especially over the last few months. Roxanne Perez goes without saying. Um, I would say, as far as tag teams, it appears they're going to break up over on NXT when we're looking at Frazier and Axiom. But dang, could they electrify either tag team division, whether it be Raw or SmackDown, at any moment? And there's tons of tantalizing matchups there. Don't get me started on Oba Femi. Don't get me started on Trick Williams. Don't get me started on the rest of the town. Javon Evans. Javon Evans might have to skip the line. Like, genuinely speaking, when we're talking about talent, Javon Evans may have to start just skipping the line. We may have to start skipping steps because I haven't seen him miss yet. Like, and I know Melo's not supposed to miss, but like Javon Evans hasn't missed. And that's scary to say at his age.
It undoubtedly is, and I do agree with you on that. But here's the issue: I think they need to really. I just think he's really at risk of getting lost on the main roster. I think he might need a bit of a stronger character to translate to the masses on the main roster, or at least I think that's how WWE will view it. Because
Yeah.
there's been so many talented young talents like him before who everyone's like, oh, this guy's a form. He's not form. He's going to be a future world champion. He's so young, so much potential. He's going to be the next big thing. Then they get called up to the main roster and they do nothing, and they're like 27 now, and they're part of a faction of Tottenham
And
fans.
to your
But
point, you don't want the bounce around thing, like it's like
yeah,
yo-yo dieting, Austin Theory, shout out. You know what I mean? Like where you end up going up, down, up, down, up, down. That's the last thing you want to see from a talent this young. But at the same time, he's that dang good, man. He's
he
that
has
dang
so
good.
much potential. I'm going to be annoyed if they waste him. Shard is saying that Roxanne and Sol Ruka could be the new Bailey and Charlotte.
Oh, I like
I
that.
mean, I think that's very, very possible. And he's also saying something else, which I agree with. Praxium is the best tag team in wrestling in 2024, better than the Bucks, FTR, etc. I 1000% agree, but not only do I agree, everybody is saying they need to split up. They've been doing that split up storyline, well, teasing it at least. I don't think they should split up because I think the main roster needs them as a tag team. I'm going to be
Yeah,
honest here. I think they've got more potential as a tag team because, again, I fear they shouldn't, but I fear they will get lost on the main roster
I
as single
agree.
stars.
I agree. I think that's the big problem is it's great for a one-off match between Axiom
Yeah,
and
that's the
Nathan
only reason
Frazier
you'd want
on
it.
NXT, but it's not necessarily great for anything that we're going to see on the main roster. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and KSK says, I will be surprised if Roxanne Perez is not on the main roster after she loses the title. I'd be surprised too. She is an absolute star. And I think she's one of the 1/3 which is ready.
Yeah, I would add Roxanne to that list. I think there's a lot on the women's side that are more ready than we even realize. That division is deep
It
and really 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 good.
It absolutely is. And another name in that division, well, not in that division, but on NXT, we need to talk about Oba Femi, because it's been a big conversation the past few days, right? Oba Femi has been so over in NXT. He had a great match last night with Otis. He held his own, no doubt about it. In fact, he arguably looked as good as Otis did in that ring. Is Oba Femi ready for the main roster? That is now the question. Is it time to call him up? That's potentially an option. I mean, Clark, what do you think?
I think Oba Femi is one of those characters that's so over and so brilliant and so bright as a star with such a big future that he's a candidate to break the rules. And when I say the rules, I mean like the norm for a call up, right? Yeah, you win the North American, maybe you get inserted into the title picture, and next thing you know, you're up, or you wait, you challenge for both, whatever it may be. I think Oba can just show up wherever he wants and start beating people up if he wants to. And if it's time to call him up, it's time to call him up because he's that good. He's that dominant. He's that intimidating and he's that explosive. It's a different animal when you're wrestling Obafemi compared to other big men in the industry right this second. He has the intimidation factor in a way that others just simply do not. And say what you will about, we had a comment last night about him being green. He's been wrestling for 9 months. And he really has also shown versatility within those 9 months on the microphone, in triple threat matches, in singles matches, in long matches, in short matches, in squash matches, backstage segments. He really has done everything correct. So let's not, just because of the youth, assume that he's not ready. I think he is. This guy's a pro's pro. He looks like one every single time he walks to the ring and every single time he leaves it. I don't care if he takes the North American title to SmackDown or Raw and just starts beating people up. Unfortunately, we've got a gimmick like that. Not unfortunately for us, I actually am enjoying it over on Raw with Bronson Reed, but like unfortunately for Oba, that's kind of what Bronson is doing right this second. Not in the same way, but if Oba shows up on SmackDown and just starts leaving bodies, like let the bodies hit the floor and just walking around, I'll have no issue with that whatsoever.
I'd have no issue with seeing Bronson Reed versus Oba Femi because I think they're building up Bronson here for a world title shot, probably against Gunther. or something like that. I reckon once they've done that match, I don't know if they're going to keep him as a top star for a long time. I really don't, because he's in his mid to late 30s, I think, already as well. I think Oba Femi might just come in and beat Bronson Reed out of the gates, right? Have
Yeah.
those two guys go at each other, and Oba Femi just establish himself. But I also want to ask you, Clark, when do you think will be the right time to call up Oba Femi? If you had to give a date, an estimate, what would you say?
So my thing with Obafemi is this. I have no problem if it's tomorrow. I think he's ready, right? Like just as long as I've watched him, I am more and more impressed every single time. Even if he has what would be considered a down night, you're comparing it to his own work, and his body of work is this big, right? It's 9 months. It's not that long, and so I think if it's tomorrow, it's no problem. If I was choosing what I would do, I think he's got to be a an explosive debut on the Raw after WrestleMania next year. An explosive debut on the main roster. He comes in and messes something up, messes people up. And that would be the way I would go about it if it was my choice. I don't know exactly who he targets, but let him spend a little bit more time getting reps on NXT, because remember, NXT is going on the road this year. So he's going to have the opportunity to get reps on the road a few more times than he would have before over on NXT. And just to be sure, let's do that. Makes sense. Debut him Raw after Mania, perfect timing. Big old entrance probably, and then clear the ring of whoever's there, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. I love that, and Soul agrees with you too. Shard is saying that he'd like him to stay in NXT even longer and have a legendary reign. Well, I agree that it shouldn't be before WrestleMania, and I also agree with Shard that it shouldn't be after WrestleMania, because I think it should be at WrestleMania. I think the host comes out. We know they do an impromptu match every year, right? Maybe there's maybe Grayson Waller's the host, there's a celebrity other host, Snoop Dogg's there or something like that, just another celebrity, and the other celebrity co-host box a match for Grayson Waller. They do something cheesy like that every year, and they're like, oh, look who you're going to face right now. And their debuts Oba Femi. You're like, this guy is the next big thing, and he is debuting on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. I think that would be a statement.
I love that idea. Grayson Waller would be a hilarious one, even if it was The Miz. Even if it was The Miz. No problem.
Yeah, that would be awesome too. Yeah, I absolutely love either one of those, no doubt about it. S Wiggles 6 is saying probably when Raw goes to Netflix, a boatload of NXT stars will be called up. I mean, maybe,
sense.
but it'll still be the same amount of time, so I don't know, but I'd love to see him on Netflix.
Do we even know how the commercials are going to work on Netflix? That's an interesting thing to me.
I think, yeah, basically, from what we know, I think it's going to work similar to premium live events and how AEW is in the UK, where matches that happen during commercials will continue for people who have the premium version, and those who don't have the premium version or are watching it on a different television network internationally or something like that will be watching adverts during that time. So nothing major will happen within that time, and you guys will notice quite quickly it's actually rather boring to watch what happens in the commercials if it's anything like AEW. But I reckon what they're going to do during breaks when there's no matches is I think they're just going to show WWE promo packages instead, like they do for premium live events, because they already do that on Peacock. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think, to be honest with you, that it's going to... I don't think, to be honest with you, it's going to change anything in terms of how much time people on Raw get or any additional segments. I don't think it's going to change that. What it will change is there's the line for, what's allowed might be taken up just a little bit, where, certain crowd chants I think will be allowed, but I also don't think
maybe
we're going to be seeing F words on TV like some people are suggesting. But let's now move. I mean, it would be fun. It absolutely would be, but just Oba Femi debut saying the F word. Maybe that's how we do it. But now let's move on, because we had a comment submitted to us on Instagram earlier today. And I'll have to, in a second, I'll get up the name of who it was who submitted it. but they gave an opinion, and basically they said they want to see John Cena versus Randy Orton, 16-time champion versus 16-time champion at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. Now, there is a little bit of an issue with that theory, and that theory is that currently Orton is a 14-time world champion. But there's a few ways we can get around that. One is he beats Gunther, then loses to Gunther. Another is he feuds with Cody Rhodes at like Survivor Series and beats Cody Rhodes. And then maybe he gives it back to Cody Rhodes and then he wins it again. They've got a hot potato with a little bit. It would probably be, I think it would be too rushed for my personal liking. Or the other way you could do it is he does win it off Cody. He then wins the Royal Rumble. So the WWE Champion wins the Royal Rumble for the first time. And then then John Cena wins the Elimination Chamber match. So it's confirmed Cena versus Orton. At this point, Orton vacates the championship and calls his shot at the WWE Championship, which John Cena's already got an opportunity for. And then there we are. You can also go about it that way. But again, it's overbooked, isn't it? It really, really is. I don't know how to feel about it, but a lot of people like it, which is why I want to get your thoughts, Clark.
This is something that I feel like you would do in a 2K universe mode scenario. That would be delightful. This is fun in a fantasy world, but it's also something that we complained about often when similar things were done in the past, is like, let's let some of the new talent work. I get we're going to have some nostalgia matches at some point. This is a great one, but to clog a title picture with Orton and Cena during Mania season next year, just to get 16 versus 16, as great as it is, I actually feel like it'll be criticized more than it'll be praised if they go about that. I have no issue with it because I grew up in that era and enjoyed it strongly. I'm all over it. But at the same time, I just personally feel like it's one of those where we're going to end up being like, but what about, and name 5 people that should be in that spot at WrestleMania as opposed to these two. I think it'd be cool maybe in a number 1 contenders match to sort of tease it, who can get the shot at breaking the record, but not in a way where it's who's going to break a record. I don't think there's enough time for that story to make sense. And we've also seen them go through the laundry cycle, Randy Orton and John Cena, so many times. I don't know if we need to see it happen at this advanced age.
That's what I said the other day, and people went nuts at me.
It's a little bit like Tom Brady against Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's final year with the Broncos. It's like, it was a great matchup, but he's done.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. If they are going to do this, I do this as his retirement match in December 2025, because then you could have Orton defeat Cody at Survivor Series, have a short reign, drop it back to somebody else, then after WrestleMania have Orton eventually win the title again, then lose it again, and then maybe, I don't even know how you'd get there at that point. It's such a difficult one that would have to be so overbooked. But if you are going to do it, I think the last match, December 2025, is probably the way to go. But I don't even want that, to be honest with you. I just don't want it at all. But the opinion was submitted by WFC_investigation_club on Instagram. So thank you very much for submitting that opinion.
Absolutely.
S-Wiggle6 says that they would love to see Randy win 2 titles, but it seems a bit hard for it to do without, burdening the younger talent. Agreed. Absolutely agreed there. And Calf KSK says, I am a Cena fan, but that match should have happened 8 years ago, not now.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And Lord Virus of Nurgles, bringing up Orton's a 14 times, so he's got to win it twice first.
That's a great point, actually.
Why? Pardon?
I mean, he could play, patty cake with the belt with Cody, I guess would be the theory. That's what I was saying.
Like, that would be to do that.
You'd have to do that anyway to set it up.
And then use the Royal Rumble, have him win the Rumble, and then vacate it. Oh, and there's no way they flip-flopping it 3 times. But, I mean, even then, it's so overbooked that I don't like it. It's possible, but it's just so, not stupid.
It's one of those I feel like it's way more of it belongs in universe mode. Play that out in universe mode, and it'll go great.
It'll be a bunch of fun in universe mode, but what is also
Yeah.
a lot of fun is Next Level. Now, if you guys don't know what Next Level is, let me talk to you about it. They've basically taken all our social media links, put them all in one place, and that one place is nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms linked all in one place. Additionally, if you download their app, they've got an exclusive section just for wrestling on there as well. Just wrestling content creators. It's a lot of fun. Oh, and it's completely free. You're not risking anything. It's a free app. You can delete it if you don't like it. But I, for one, personally really like it. So I hope you do as well. But now let's talk a little bit about AEW Dynamite. And the same thing that happens every single week on the show's happened, where during it, for whatever reason, when we press live, it closes all my other tabs, so I lose the preview. But it's back up now. We can calm down and I can read out the preview, because we have got quite a few fun matches. Indeed, we do. We have the AEW World Champion taking on Swerve Strickland, of course, taking on Wheeler Yuta in a non-title match. We also have a triple threat match between Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong to see who gets a place in the Casino Gauntlet match. We also do have a championship match because we have the TBS title on the line as Mercedes Moné takes on Hikaru Shida in a match which I am beyond excited for, and I hope main event. And we're actually finally seeing the Acclaimed get their tag team championship shot as well when they take on the Young Bucks for those tag titles. I despise the booking of that match. Absolutely despise it. They've been number one contenders for like 2 months. They've done nothing about it. Now suddenly they're just like, okay, I think they said it on Collision or Rampage apparently. Let's do it next Wednesday. Brilliant. 2-month build and it's just been rushed across the finish line. Also, why was there a thing with FTR last week? It's clearly leading to All In. I think it's really lazy booking how they've got there, but I do think that the match will be a lot of fun, no doubt about it. We also have Jay Lethal versus Hangman Adam Page. Another bit of a random one, but one which I think is going to be a lot of fun. We know Hangman and Jay Lethal have had a lot of issues in the past, so it does make sense when it comes to that. But also, we have a Phase 2 face between Kazuchika Okada and Claudio Castagnoli. Apparently it's confirmed that they're facing next week at AEW Dynamite in Cardiff, so I'll be there to watch it. Kazuchika Okada, Claudio Castagnoli, the Continental Championship. Well, I am excited for that. Plus, we'll see a film by Mariah May, and let me tell you, right, Arsenal fans are brilliant at making films. We're brilliant at whatever we do, so this is going to be a 10 times better film than anything Toni Storm has done in her entire life. But Clark, how do you feel about all of this? What are you most excited for and why?
I am most excited for sure for the TBS title match with Shida. That would be what I'm most looking forward to, and it's this is an interesting card because I'm looking forward a lot more to a lot of the things you mentioned that are going to be on All In and in Cardiff than I am this card. The stare down between Claudio and Okada, that's great. I really just want to see the match. Like worse than life, right? Like at the end of the day, I'm excited for this Dynamite because I think there's a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up. A couple of them that I would just add in there. I mean, the Bucks match is the Bucks match, but come on, it's not a threat of seeing a title change hands here. That's not what we're going to see this week. And so, yeah, I just want to see a lot of loose ends tied up. I would love to see something special happen, something different, and make sure that we've got everything dialed in. Now we're right on the precipice of All In. It's time to make everything make sense, make the card make sense, so we can really look forward to what's going to be on that poster. Because to me, that's where AEW is at its best, is when you can run down a big time pay-per-view card like an All In, like a Double or Nothing, and you look at 4 or 5 matches and you're like, oh, those are all going to be great. And I feel like that is the feeling I'm going to end up with after watching tonight's Dynamite. Headed into it, it's really hard for me to pick one thing that I'm like, oh, I can't miss that, because there's really not much there for me. I mean, I think Yuta and Strickland will put on a great match, but I hate non-title matches like that.
Wow. I mean, right. When I was in school, I think it would have been like 8 to 10 years ago, right? One day I wasn't feeling too well. I was coming home from school and I looked to my left and I saw two figures which looked vaguely like my cousin and my uncle who lived in Canada. And I thought to myself, my stomach must really be sore because I am now hallucinating. But little did I know, it was actually them. They came as a surprise and all of that. But right now, I'm not feeling too well either. And I feel like I'm hallucinating again. Because, Clark, was I just positive about a Dynamite going into it? And were you just negative about it? Is this opposite day? What's happening?
I felt bad. I was going in and I was like, I think it's fun and I think it's going to be good. And I'm excited, but I'm excited about what it's going to lead to. What's been announced is not necessarily what I'm most excited about in relation to All In.
Wow.
And so
Mercedes
I'm like,
Moné versus Hikaru Shida, though.
That's the one that I mentioned, and I feel bad. I didn't even say Mercedes Moné's name. TBS Championship match, Mercedes Moné, Hikaru Shida. That's the one that I have circled amongst all of them. Like that's the one of any match on this card. But to me, Max and Ospreay is the most enticing story right this second because I just find it so funny, and I want to see.
Well,
there's
actually,
nothing
in the
announced.
UK. They're both in the UK, so maybe they couldn't get back in time.
I'm sure we'll see something.
Hopefully. We better. But they've announced a lot. That is my only issue with the fact they've announced a tag today too. And the Shida Moné match, I'm so excited for it, but it is a bit random.
This would be time for a vignette type backstage pre-taped segment.
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, David, shout out David, brought up Dinner Debonair. Nothing like that with Ospreay and Max, but something that is pre-taped like that.
Yeah,
I would enjoy just to advance it.
Do you know what I think they're going to do? They're just going to show what happened at Rev Pro where Ospreay confronted MJF. That's what they're going to show, which I don't mind them showing that.
That's
but
fine.
You're a couple of weeks away. I mean, I guess the match does sell itself. It's been built decently. But it does feel like a lot's been announced, which is a bit random, a couple of weeks away from your version of WrestleMania. I don't know how I feel about it.
So where the heck is Wardlow? Can we get Wardlow?
Well, I'll tell you where Wardlow is, Clark. A few months ago, I said, about a year ago now, I said that AEW's roster is too big and it's only getting bigger and it's going to get worse. We're going to see more random booking. We're going to see people not having coherent storylines. Long-term booking is going to go just downhill. Guess what? Everything's happened, and people still aren't admitting it's because the roster's too big. That's actually the biggest problem they have. They got too many people employed.
I'll give you that. That's fair.
It sucks to say, but there's also Ring of Honor, which a lot of people could go to too. If they had a hard brand split between a few of these, or at least a hard brand split between Ring of Honor and AEW, where some of the lesser known talents, mid-card names go to Ring of Honor and the young stars, and then something like that, at least you could do something, because I agree with you. There are so many people who we just don't see enough of on AEW TV.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even remember. I mean, Kyle O'Reilly's obviously been involved in the 6-man tag team storyline stuff, but outside of that, he's done nothing since coming in, really, has he? But, oh well.
I mean, I will say Kyle did have the long-term injury, and that hurt, I think, a lot of plans, as well as Adam Cole. Because he's a logical cog, though. True, but he's a logical cog in a storyline with Adam Cole, too, if Adam Cole doesn't get hurt. And that's a different animal in and of itself,
That Adam Cole storyline, him getting injured, has had a knock-on effect for the worst.
It's just brutal. It's brutal. That was worst case scenario.
It really was, because I mean it's ruined MJF. Well, MJF's ruined MJF with this new character, which is absolutely.
You're wrong. It's great.
He'll come back. Well, it's not great because. It feels so random. It's out of nowhere. It is funny, but it's not meant to be funny. We're meant to be
Captain America.
Him in the UK.
It's so funny.
But you don't understand. In the UK next week, he's still going to get cheered by some people. If he gets booed, it's not because he's doing an American gimmick. It's because he's facing Will Ospreay, who's, a young star here. There's literally American candy shops on almost every street in the UK, especially London nowadays. We almost identify more with American culture than British culture. It's not going to get the same reaction. Whereas if somebody went to the US with another flag or something like that, I don't think they did their research.
I hear that. I still think it's gonna work. I think it'll be funny.
I think that match will work. It's just for MJF, but
Yeah.
this heel turn, it's felt so random. It's been so out of left field. There's no explanation for it. It's just it's the worst we've seen of MJF in AEW. And by that, I mean the transition to it, right? The gimmick might end up being funny, like you say, might end up working, but the transition has been the worst thing we've seen
I
from
do
MJF.
think, yeah, every time he leaned into something. Although, see, I complained further about the Triple H parallels when he was wearing the leather jacket than I do this. I prefer this to that.
Yeah, but at least it was like a baby face. At least it seemed natural then, though. Where it was like he's trying to be a bit too much of a face. They made the story too messy. Adam Cole got injured. They then should have been like, well, let's just keep him as a face, put him against some really bad heels, and drag him along a bit until Cole gets back. Instead, they abandoned it, didn't properly develop a heel turn story for him, did that Rush Daniel Garcia thing, which there may or may not be a payoff for.
Yeah.
I don't like it, Clark. In fact, I really don't like it. I think it's some of the...
I don't hate it. I don't hate it as much as you do.
He's a bootleg JBL.
Agree to disagree. Agree to disagree.
Well, on that note, that does bring us to the end of the show. It's been a fun one. It's absolutely flown by. KFK's says he'd love to see Undisputed back in WWE. I mean, that would be fun.
I think in any company.
I just love to see Adam Cole back, to be honest with you. Don't care where it is.
Doesn't matter where they wrestle.
But just please back and please stay healthy this time. Number one would like to see Vignette, perhaps Shane McMahon. We know both of them, Shane and Tony, have publicly said they met, but they both said it was just a little chitty chat. Are they lying? Are they not? Who knows? But on that note, it does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Clark, for joining me here today. We will be back tomorrow to talk a little bit of AEW. See you guys. Peace.